Welcome back, everybody. It is the Go Blue with Stu podcast. I am your host, of course, Stu Douglas. Be sure to go on to Apple Podcasts, subscribe, rate, and review. Hit the follow button on Spotify. Big news, we finally made it to over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. But don't let that stop you. Go to YouTube, subscribe to that. We really appreciate all the support, all the listens. But we need those subscription numbers. We need those reviews. We need those ratings. So keep that up. Really appreciate it. You guys have been great. We've got a great episode today with Zack Novak, my classmate, the guy I played 4 years with, my roommate, my best friend from Michigan. Love the guy. We had a really great talk. You guys will enjoy it. Super interesting dude. We were originally trying to get me and him to do this together, which would be a lot of fun. Zach's a busy guy. He works way too much for all of that. And, right now, I'm kind of in between jobs. I'm going to go back to Israel soon and play basketball, but I got all the time in the world. Zach doesn't have that time, but periodically we'll have him back on the pod, tell some great stories. We'll have some guests with him. I don't want to tease too much, but I'm hoping we can get a nice little Mitch McGarry Novak episode combination. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for that. But you guys will enjoy this episode. And yeah, rate, review, subscribe. Get on it. And I appreciate you guys listening and hope you guys enjoy the episode. All right. Welcome to the podcast, Zach. I really appreciate you coming on. It's been a minute since we've talked. We talked before this a little bit. You said you watched a little bit of Michigan. What are your quick thoughts on the team and Jawan and their success and everything?
Yeah, I think it's gone about as well as it possibly could have for Juwan, replacing Coach B. And I think the most interesting thing has been, from my perspective, very differing styles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously recruiting very differently. I don't think you or I are getting the offer from Juwan.
Not quite.
But the thing that I've been really impressed with is, like, culturally, I think he's retained and built on a lot of the good things that were built. Got a group of guys who really like each other. They play hard. They're selfless, and I think that's cool. And you kind of see them. I feel like they have the most energy on the bench out of all the teams that I've seen when I watch. And obviously you pair that up with a ton of talent and a couple of good grad transfers. I think they're right there. Obviously you got Gonzaga and Baylor this year who are clear 1 and 2, but
yeah,
there's nobody that they can't beat. So it's gonna be fun to watch them on the stretch here.
I see a lot of Zack Novak and Sean D. Brown. Do you agree with me?
Slightly more athletic, probably, but yeah, he's kind of got that. He's got a little chip to him, and he goes out and, like, the dude just competes. That's what I love. Like, he's picking people up,
like straight off the bench.
Getting in their grill, and just he's high energy. So yeah. I've really enjoyed watching him play, and I think of him and Smith. Like, you just got two guys there who are great players. I think they were on some great teams in their career, and I think they're liking winning.
It's crazy. That's the thing. Yeah, I think it's like, it obviously helps that they started winning, but it's crazy to have two guys like that come in and just be like, all right, I'll do whatever. Like, I just want to win. And it's so hard to get grad guys or any transfer to really kind of buy in like that, especially two older guys with young guys dominating and stuff. But it's been fun to watch. I was remembering the Livers Howard argument. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that. Yeah.
Have you ever, and I was trying to think, because I asked Beeline about it, and I was like, if he ever yelled at me quite like that, and he did, and I was trying to think if he ever yelled at you, or you ever had an argument like that with him before. I feel like that never really happened.
Did him and I ever get chippy?
I mean, you like yeah, maybe. Did you even get chippy?
I don't think we really ever got, other than when he caught us drinking our freshman year. He wasn't happy about that.
Threatened us to the end of our lives. Yeah.
No, I think probably the most chippy I ever got with him was when he made me run because you were late to practice.
We talked about that. Yeah.
I remember being not happy about it.
No, I remember you wanted to kill me, and then I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" That really did work. Like, I mean, I had my sleeping problems, like I had to get over anyways. But I was like, that made me feel the worst. Like, I could like run forever, but like that actually made me feel bad about it.
Yeah, no, that was it was day one of practice too. That was impressive.
Was it day one?
It was day one, yeah.
God. I mean, that was the second time though. That was the problem.
Yeah. Well, it's all right. I'm now in much better shape because of it.
I mean, you didn't run that many gauntlets. I ran all the gauntlets.
No, I couldn't run the gauntlet, dude. I could barely run up and down the court. My back was like gonna fall apart. My knees were falling apart. My hips. I was done by the end.
Yeah, dude. I just remember like freshman year when I knew you were going to move to the 4, I was just so happy. I was like, I don't want to compete with this dude anymore. Like, I would rather play with Novak. And it was all set up for us to just compete for the 2 guard spot. And I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, this is
Yeah.
dumb. Like, I want to have something where like you and me are together.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember what game that was. Because didn't you start the first game at the 2?
No, it was Wisconsin. So it was the first game of Big Ten. Or we went to MSG,
Yeah.
killed it there.
Yeah.
You remember that one.
Oh, yeah.
And then we played Duke like 2 weeks later. I had a good game.
Yes.
And
Oh,
then
this is way later. Yeah.
TV3 came up before the Wisconsin game. And he's like, "Yeah, man, like we're gonna start you at the 4." And I laughed at him. Like, "You're out of your mind." Like, this is the Big Ten, and the starting 4 of Wisconsin that year was Joe Kravanaugh, who's like
God.
a senior guy who's just
Yeah.
like Wisconsin strong. And I'm like,
He's like Mr. Wisconsin. Yeah.
And then I had my career high in points the next game and never topped it.
What'd you have?
At 20.
Wow, we both have the same career high.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't remember that being that. I remember that Duke game and just being an asshole. Like, we won, and I was like, I didn't play. Like, Novak killed it. I didn't play. Like, I couldn't quite get into it the same way. Although it was just one of the more insane wins. Like at home, I'm trying to think if we had a bigger win at home. Did we ever have one?
Not as big of like probably like a underdog win.
Yeah.
A state game our senior year though for game day was pretty good. That was crazy. I mean, that was the loudest Chrysler ever was.
Yeah, I was
Big Ten.
reminiscing about that the other day and the questions we had and the favorite sideline reporter, and I said Tony Siragusa, and I caught a lot of flack for that because I didn't say Erin Andrews.
That was classic. Yeah, I still get crap from Sam when she's like, if we watch a Margot Robbie movie, she's like, "Oh yeah, you love Margot Robbie."
You can't live that stuff down.
Yeah, no, it's coming back on.
I said I would be like, I wanted to go on a date with my girlfriend, and Portnoy got on Twitter and called me soft.
He wasn't wrong.
Yeah, probably.
Right. You've learned, and now you've grown from it.
I guess so. Okay, I want to go like talk about like our senior year because I was thinking about us, and I mean I've been reminiscing on this podcast about my time with Trey, and like a lot of it's like senior year and like when they really had the most success, and I try and think about like the Ohio loss and how we peaked like right before really senior night was when we lost it, and that's to me is the most painful loss I've had in college, I think.
Senior night?
Yeah, just because we lost to Purdue. We could have been undefeated at home that year, and if everything did fall into place like it did, we could have won outright the Big Ten, and it was just super painful. And then going into the Big Ten tournament, we didn't care about the Big Ten tournament at all. And then we get into Ohio and we lose. And then I was thinking like in the locker room, like I think crying maybe a little bit, but then also we like started laughing, and it was like this weird mix of emotions. I mean, do you remember any of that?
I don't remember laughing. I don't know if was I in the laughing crew?
I swear, like it was just like there was like something cathartic about it being over.
I think that senior year we didn't really know what to expect coming into the year, right? Because we had come back our junior year, but Darius is gone. Got Trey coming in. obviously, Tim had a great freshman year.
Yeah.
Honestly, his sophomore year was probably his down year in his college career.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet, we're still in it at the end and, get a share of the Big Ten title. Honestly, I think what it just came on to for us was it was just minutes. I mean, we all played, so it was a tight rotation that year.
Yeah.
6 guys playing the bulk of it. And I think by the time we got to the end, like I remember that Ohio game was the hardest game, like physically ever. It's not like they were a good team, but it's not like they were physically dominating. We were just literally just exhausted. It's like done. And
Yeah.
there was nothing left in the tank. And I think we just we smelled some blood in the water with the Big Ten championship. And we put everything we had into that, and like that was it. There was nothing left.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. I remember the Ohio game just feeling kind of strange. Like the whole time, like there were so many games, especially like the entire Big Ten season was like I felt in control and we were seniors, and for whatever reason that Ohio game just didn't really feel like in control. Like all of them just played like crazy, and it was all confusing of like DJ Cooper went off in the first half, Walter Offit went off in the second half. The 4-man hit like just dumb shots. And then that same roster the next year didn't even make the tournament. And I was like, what the hell? I mean, obviously it was John Gross coaching, which is huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like hit us. And I remember just like after the game, like, what the hell just happened? Like, I don't even know.
That's the thing I think that probably is hard for like fans to realize around the NCAA tournament. Like, maybe that's part of it. Like, it doesn't really hit you that it's over. And for seniors, like, that's it. And so it's basically, you get on a plane one day, you go to practice, next day you play a game, like, that's it. It's done. It's like, what just happened? And that year, I remember that. Like, it was quick. And, that team, you remember the draw too. I mean, the Big Ten was the best conference in the country that year.
Yep.
We split it. And somehow we ended up with a 4 seed. Like I thought that was BS. And it was the worst possible matchup for us ever. A well-coached mid-major team.
With DJ Cooper, with a scoring point guard. Like it just, all of it was bad.
I would have rather played, pick your, top
any
10
SEC school.
Yeah, anybody.
I wouldn't care.
Literally. And it was a bad matchup for us, and not our night.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't get too bitter about the NCAA like results, but it does piss me off. Think like never made the Sweet 16, but we're always like overachieving, I guess. But it almost feels worse. It's like just overachieve one more game, like just do it like a little bit more. But I try and like not think about the results as much when I think back on our career and like what we did.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the NCAA stuff's it's a little tough because I think that it's what you get in the draw, right? Our freshman year was happy to make it. It was it was a miracle we made it, right?
Yeah.
And you get Blake Griffin.
Yeah.
And then our junior year, you get Kyrie and Duke. That was the worst. That was my worst loss. I think we should have won that game.
Oh yeah, that's definitely my top 3. Yeah.
And Darius, you're watching this. I was open. You're still open.
Both of us.
Yeah.
Both of us would have hit the shot.
Nah, it's hard to get him shade.
No, of course, yeah.
The whole year.
He carried the whole team, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that game was terrible. And then the senior year, when we finally do like earn a good seed, we just literally like the worst matchup possible.
Yeah, it is always a crapshoot when that stuff happens.
It's like funny, the player when it's a shit match, and it's not great. I don't think any of us obviously no one's gonna like, oh crap, it's Ohio, but
yeah,
it was like we looked at it and we're like, this is the team that we end up like beating by like 5 in November in Chrysler and run the next day.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's making mistakes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I just remember a quick tidbit and then we'll move on. I just remember after the game, we got off the plane back in Ann Arbor, and Kathleen, God bless Kathleen Beeline, she comes up to me and she's like, I didn't really process everything. She comes up and she's like, this must be like a big relief, like a big weight off your shoulders that everything is over. And I was like, damn, yeah, I guess it is. Thinking about like those responsibilities that you and I had for 2 years being the oldest guys and the team captains, and just like thinking about how much, I wouldn't call it a burden, but it's just a lot. It was just a lot to deal with. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. But once it's over, you're like, damn, it's just high stakes all the time. But you just get lost in the middle of it.
Yeah, and I think you get to this point where you're in a bubble. You're in two bubbles. Like you're in your like local bubble in Ann Arbor where you're just like
Yeah.
always eyes on you. I can only imagine how it is today, by the way, with like all the social media stuff was starting to come up when we were in, but not like it is now.
No, not even close.
But then you're on national TV, all these people, like everybody's got these expectations of you, and like it's all good. Like I enjoyed it, but you always have to be on. You don't ever have an opportunity to be off or take a breath.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of it. When it ends, you're like, huh, like, whoa, like actually I have more than like 3 days in a row without like somebody texting me what I'm doing. And it's just like it's totally weird. And like, what do I do with the time now? And then you transit. I found like the transitioning, like it actually hit me probably most like going into the next thing I did. Because you don't really know, you always have the off season, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't that weird. It's when like the next season started and all of a sudden I'm in Zwolle in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And my coach is speaking Dutch, and it's just like a totally different experience. And there's like school kids running around practice. I'm like, what the heck? Like you're not in Michigan anymore. And it just kind of like that was the part of like, whoa, it hits you fast. And again, I think it's hard to really like appreciate that until you like go through it. So it's like hard for people that just watch and really grasp, I think.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny you said that the things that we didn't have to like report anymore senior year, and I remember enjoying St. Patrick's Day for the first time ever. Like actually enjoying it on campus. We're like, I can go be seen drinking now on campus. Like, who
If
cares?
I did that today, I'd be hungover for 2 weeks.
Oh, done. We would have been dead.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, like, was the kids the first time? Because seeing the kids in Zwolle, like for me, it was when I got to Pamplona, Spain, and they told me that, the Wi-Fi wasn't going to be for another day or two, and I had no phone, and I'm sitting there by myself, and I'm like, I have to read a book like it's 1920 or something by candlelight. Like, what am I doing? Why am I here? And it was, everything that I had dreamed of doing, maybe not playing in Pamplona, but like playing basketball for money, is a dream you have as a kid. And then you get there and you're like, wait, what the hell? Like, did you have one of those moments in the beginning, first couple of weeks?
Well, I think we approached it very different.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like I think you were like you knew it was a career and you wanted to do it. With me, I was like 1 to 3 years and I'm out. And then
Yeah.
4 months in, I was like, oh yeah, more like 1, I'm out. And so I kind of took like when I first got there, yeah, it was really weird. I had an interesting living situation where I lived above a grocery store, and basically what was almost like a shared house with like 7 other guys. So I lived with two, like the school that sponsored us was between our like junior year of high school to sophomore year of college. So I lived with 2 guys who were like 17. I lived with our point guard, one of the point guards, a Dutch guy, who's still playing. He's on the national team over there. So he was a good guy. Played with Tanner Smith, who we played at Clemson.
Yep.
And then there was another guy on the team who's D2 National Player of the Year. Josh Majette.
Yeah.
Who ends up going to like play in the NBA, which is like totally talk about underdog stories stories. Like awesome, but like insane. And I just remember, and I lived with one other guy from the volleyball team in town. His name was Timon, but I thought his name was Diamond. And I'm like, people here named Diamond. What the heck? And he was an interesting guy, a little bit more quiet, but for me, like it ended up being pretty cool because once I pretty much stopped taking the basketball seriously pretty quick. and was just like, I'm just gonna live like a 22-year-old in Holland that doesn't have anything to do but work for an hour and a half a day.
Yeah.
Like, it was just one of the most fun years I ever had. I mean, I was going out with my buddies, we were having beers, just going out in the town, it was a cool town. And it was good. And I think as it gets further out, I probably appreciate it more than I did when I was actually in it.
Yeah. I remember you like trying to like keep up because at the time I don't think I could even watch your games. I remember just like watching your stats and the box scores. And then you sent me a video of you doing a windmill off 2 feet. And I was like, this dude is playing free as hell. Like, there's not a care in the world, and he's just killing it. Which is funny because I knew you were capable of doing all of these things, right? Like, you did it in high school. You could have done it more in college. But it's just fun. I mean, I think at the same time, it was like, all right, let's get back to high school me and let's just play a little more free. And that was fun. That was a relief.
For sure. And also, like, it's amazing how much better your legs feel when you don't play defense.
For 40 minutes straight, there's no,
I was like, whatever.
What's a stance? I don't know.
Yeah. No, it was no, one of the coolest things over there, mentioning my legs feeling better. Do you remember there was a guy who's like one of the early YouTube sensations, a white dude from Canada, and he won this dunk contest. What was his name? He was on Best Damn Sports Show, period. If I showed you the video, you'd know it 100%. I can't believe I don't remember his name. So anyway, we're getting ready for this game. Like, this guy who was like the early YouTube dunker.
Skinny guy, right? Small?
He wasn't huge, but yeah, he was like white dude that just was from Canada. Henry Beck. That was his name. Henry Beckering.
Okay.
Go look up his YouTube video after this. Like, the dude could get up. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I'm playing him. And we get in the game. I grab a board off a free throw, take it coast to coast, and I'm like, I'm going up. And so there's this awesome picture of like, I'm just dunking on him and he's like hands in, trying not to get hit. And I was like, yeah, I'm done this year. That's all I needed to do.
Yeah.
I'm retired. Oh, Michigan's in the Final Four. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this a million times, but like for this podcast, I need like a quick rundown. Give me like a minute rundown of this story, because to me, it is my favorite story. Like, I will lay out my point of view. Okay. Like you just said, we had different mindsets going into everything, but I'm going overseas. Like, I missed my sister's wedding because I'm overseas and doing this thing. And like, I can't, it was in August. I get over there, I'm trying to take everything seriously. I'm getting paid for this. Like, I'm taking it all seriously. And then March comes around, Michigan's in the Final Four, and you hit me up and you're like, yeah, I'm going to the game.
Yeah. So the way that it went, I mean, at this point, my coach and I did not see eye to eye at all. And it was like, it was a good experience for me, but unique. And part of it was me like trying to get rid of, used to not being in Michigan. It was partially on me too. It wasn't sad. But like, we just butted heads. Mm-hmm. And I was over it. Like I said, I knew I was gone. So when Michigan made it, I was like, there's no way. And I probably had a few beers and booked the flight, impulsively. And then had to go tell my coach the next day, and they win the game, they're going to the Final Four. I buy the ticket, it's bought, I'm going. And I walk in his office, I was like, all right, here's the deal. And he's like, what? And it's him and the GM. And I said, look, Michigan's in the Final Four. Like, yeah, that's really cool. And I was like, you have two options. Either you're cool with me going to the game and I will fly back, or you're not, and you can keep the rest of my money and I'm out of here. and I like, they didn't know what to do. I mean, they're just shell shocked. They're like, I cannot believe this is like, he's actually making this request. And I'm just like, look, it is what it is. I'm not missing this. And they said, here's what we're going to do. You're going to tell everybody that you're sick. We're going to tell the league that you're sick. Go there. Do not do any TV interviews. And I'm like, yeah, sure, it's cool. So they let me go because they're like, they need me to come back, right? I'm like leading the team in scoring, first team all. They're not going to like tell me not to come back. So I go down there. We're in the Final Four hotel or whatever, and I forget who I walked by. It might have been Jim Jackson. Walking by, and they got the studio set up. And he's like, hey, can we get an interview? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? So So I do this interview and whatever. The game ends, whatever, and I end up flying back to the first practice. And the GM, we're warming up. We're doing like the first personal jog, and this guy's big. Like he's this interesting. He looked like a cartoon character, right? Big bald guy. Zack. I'm like, oh God, oh God. We specifically told you, we told the league you were sick, and if you show up on TV in America. And I was like, I got nothing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. And it was fine. It was fine. We ended up the year we got swept in the playoffs, and that was it.
Yeah, I think I remember you were like, I don't care. Like playoffs is done. Like who cares?
Well, actually, it worked perfectly because it was King's Day. So that in the Netherlands they have this thing called Queen's Day or King's Day. It's just like basically our 4th of July, right? Go celebrate the reigning of the Queen. And the Queen was abdicating the throne to a new king that year. So it was an extra big party. I mean, it was literally the entire city of Amsterdam was like shoulder to shoulder.
Damn.
Party. And it was, I mean, I was like, well, I gotta hit this. So I delayed my flight home and hit that. And it was awesome. Great time. One of those like once in a lifetime type deals. And I was glad we got swept.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, there's many years where I'm like, we're not going to win the championship. Just let's lose already. Like, who cares?
Let's just go home.
Yeah. Well, I want to tell a couple more stories, and I got a couple more questions for you. I got to have you back on, so I don't want to tell everything. But I want you, while I tell one of my favorite stories about you, you got to think about one of your favorite stories about me. And if you can't, that's fine, or something trivial, it doesn't matter. But I love this story. And people, who are listening or didn't watch before this, Zach got on and he's got background zoom. So then he changes it to a background of the Chicks Dig Scars shirt. If anybody is familiar with that, where Zach is bleeding down his face and onto his maize jersey, and they made a shirt for it. Where'd they sell that? They sold it on campus somewhere, didn't they, one year?
Underground printing. Go check them out.
Amazing. So he put that on there, and my story involves that. So there it is. There it is. It says Chicks Dig Scars. If you can't read it. It's one of the best pictures ever. But there's another picture that's not that one. That, like, I think you can look it up online. I think it'll come up in Google Images, and it's you like livid, like really pissed off. And I mean, you would get excited in games and get like, channel that energy a lot because it would help you a lot. But what people don't know is that when you got pissed on the sideline is because you came off. You don't remember what happened. I remember you not knowing what happened. We're like, Zach, what happened? Like, why are you bleeding? You're like, kind of upset. You're like, a little excited. And you're like, I don't know. And you're like, okay, like, did anybody see it? I'm like talking to the bench because I'm on the bench. And then me and Ant are right there next to you. And Ant Wright, for not anyone that doesn't know Ant Wright, he turns to you and he's like, yeah, Alex Legion, who almost was on Michigan freshman year. Yeah. Transferred from Kentucky, almost went to Michigan, then ended up playing at Illinois. He's like, yeah, Alex elbowed you on purpose. And you were like, I don't want to cuss too much, but you're like, no way. Like, you got to be kidding me. Like, that's bullshit. Yeah. And like, I'm like, Ant, what are you doing? He did not do that. And Ant, Ant's just an instigator. He's like, I don't know. I just wanted to see how to react. And like, I knew he'd be pissed off, so it'd be funny. And I'm like, he's going to go kill Alex out on the court. And then you're going to be an accomplice to murder. At the very least, he's going to get suspended. And you kept your cool. Like, I'll give you props. You kept your cool. But that stuff was, I think you even ripped the jersey, didn't you? Because you were so mad.
No. There was blood all over the jersey.
But I swear you got mad and then ripped it because you knew you had to change it. And I swear you ripped it.
That was probably another game.
That was probably another game. Yeah, that's one of my favorite stories.
I did do that before, but I don't think I did it that time.
Yeah. Maybe it just seems like right up your alley. But yeah, that's one of my favorite untold. Like, it's like mythical. Your bleeding picture, but like people don't know the half of it, which is like the funniest part of it, which I always love. But you got a story for me?
Got that. There was one time I remember you were playing video games in my room.
Oh yeah, this is good.
And it was the only time I've ever seen you actually get pissed, like really pissed. I guess we both remember when we get pissed, apparently.
Yeah.
And you'd done it a couple times, and you left a couple Budweisers all over the place.
Yeah.
And
This one was bad.
I came home after a night out, and you know, wasn't thinking totally clearly, and there was some beers. I was like, there's some bottles here.
Oh, it was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot.
It was enough for me to just hold. And so I walk in your room. I'm like, here, you take them. And as I just see it in the air, just they were full, and beer just goes everywhere. It's all over the walls. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And like I tried to dry it off. I remember you got home a little bit later, and you walk in. Are you effing kidding me? And like got in my face, like I would have done to someone else. You didn't have that in you, and you had it in you. I was like, I was a little like, it felt bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was a little scared.
Yeah.
And then I was like kind of proud. I was like, for doing that.
I swear.
Yeah, that one sticks with me.
That one sticks with me too. And I swear, like, we became better friends after that. Like, we became closer.
Yeah.
And it was like, but there was always this thing. There's always been a competition between you and me. Like from the beginning, like you're always competing with other people anyways. But like you and me are white kids under recruited from Indiana and fighting for, it's all the cliche stuff. And then it was like, there was like never a boiling point between you and me. And it was like a little bubble burst and you're like, all right, cool. Like,
yeah.
And I swear the relationship changed after that. Like nothing crazy. We were good friends, but it was like a weird, it's hard to explain almost.
It's like you got to go through some shit with somebody and you're like, oh wait, yeah, this is good. This is helpful.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I love that. That's like one of my favorite things. Like that's why I love the Isaiah Livers, Joanne Hyatt thing. Like you can get pissed and yell at someone and then turn around and be like, cool, like doesn't matter.
Sure.
Okay, I got two more things for you and then we'll get out of here. One real quick, Skeeps or Ricks?
Skeeps to Ricks.
Okay, that's a unique answer that I have not heard yet, and I'll allow it. I really appreciate that. Damn, that's a good answer. I never did that. I always quit. It was Skeeps, and then I was done.
I would, I made that walk many times, and you just cut right through the dyad.
Easy.
You'd sneak a roadie or two for the way.
Yep. I mean, maybe put a little snus in. You never know.
Yeah, it was good to go.
All right, last one. And I've been asking everyone this. What is like one of the major things that you learned at Michigan or you taken away, like a lesson, like something that really stuck with you and it sticks with you to this day?
It's easy for me right now. I mean, the amount of things I find myself at work doing that I'm like, I get why Beeline, like why coach was like this now.
Mm-hmm.
I manage a team, 20, 30 people, and it's sales, right? And it's so similar to sports. And so I like just the amount of just like pulling on different like tactics that he used and taking the approach of like, most sales you think like there's like Gary Glenn Ross film where it's like always be closing in your face, MF this and that. And it's more like just taking a like teacher type approach to it, and just like really methodical. And like we even have a thing called film review. Literally we run it and I'll have one like seller every 2 weeks say, all right, you went and sold for 2 weeks. What were your F's? What was terrible that like I'd be running for? What were the learning plays? And what went great? And like
that's awesome.
We totally adopted it. And so it's like I never thought, because it was a lot of the shit that drove me nuts, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm like, crap. And I'll find myself even using his sayings. Like I said yesterday, I said, Hayes in the barn in that one. And I'm like, oh my God.
What? How old are you, Zach?
Yeah, and so it's funny that it's like basically how much of that you soak in. It's not like I was writing notes of like,
yeah.
Coach, it's not like I was watching him and be like, I want to see how he coaches, and it's just like stuck.
Yeah, it is funny. It's funny because you get that perspective, especially from your point of view now running a team. It's like the whole time you're like, why doesn't he see things from my point of view? And you're like, I understand his point. Like, no, you don't. You got to actually experience that pressure and managing all these young dumbasses, and like, it's a totally different ballgame.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. My team's watched like a great team. Love the team, and it's interesting. We have a lot of. It's very similar to like us at Michigan in the sense, like, I've got like a lot of like elite level people. Like we have very complex business, and we have I treat it like recruiting for a D1 team, and so it's also interesting just managing. That's the other thing I think I learned. Going from, getting you out of bed to getting Trey Burke, just letting him run, to getting Timmy's head straight.
Right.
The different personalities and managing that. And that part of it comes in handy, like, massively.
Yeah.
The fact that that's natural. And I think that probably the ability to like do that and understand how people are working and like you need to do in a game, you kind of just like remove the emotion from it. And you're just like, you got to just think you're out there. It's happening so fast. I didn't realize how big of an advantage that would be. And it's just like huge. Like people who didn't go through that experience don't have that. And so it's served me pretty well.
Yeah, no, I'm forever thankful to have the responsibility of, you were 3-time captain, I was 2-time captain, just like having that responsibility is a lot, but it's just the best to learn about people and how to manage. And like, yeah, it's really invaluable. And I've never really talked about it with anybody else, which is funny that we're bringing it up now. I've never really discussed it with anybody, and that just kind of came up organically. Like, that's something I'll value forever. So it's fun. But yeah, that wraps it up, Zach. We have to have you back on.
Let's do it.
Whenever you are free or working nonstop and other stuff in your life that's real busy.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, man. I really appreciate you coming on. I could talk to you for forever. So I'm surprised we kept this under hopefully 45 minutes.
We can keep going. Minus the hot spots in that food.
Not stop.